The amber lighting of the Alder Room bathed the velvet boots in understated luxury, as I smoothed the sleeve of my charcoal cardigan, intentionally modest, purposefully nondescript. Elena Dorsey, my older sister, was holding court near the fireplace, dressed in ivory silk and Balenciaga heels, exuding the curated grace of someone who weaponized wealth. I'm Maya Dorsey, though to my family, I've always just been May. Easier to ignore, easier to dismiss. At 36, I'm the walking disappointment, the sister Elena brings up with a sigh during high-end fundraisers in Nashville's elite investment circle. Poor May, tried the whole startup thing, ran out of steam. Still clinging to what's left. They don't realize those leftovers amounted to $5.1 billion, 0 cents, this morning, according to my advisory team in Zurich. May, darling, Elena purred, voice sugary with subtle disdain. Thrilled you could make it. She nodded at my cardigan like it might bite her. Though you could have mentioned we were meeting at Alder, I'd have lent you something. I smiled and took the seat. Naturally the least prominent one. Comfort matters, I said, watching her visibly flinch. This is Christopher Harlan, she said, gesturing to the silver-haired man beside her. He's thinking about letting our firm manage his AI portfolio. She made sure to stress our. Christopher, this is my sister May. She used to dabble in venture capital before I pivoted to private markets, I said lightly, accepting the wine list. Elena's lips tightened. She'd wanted the crash and burn story. Rough time to be idle, Christopher offered with feigned politeness. I didn't answer. We'll take the Domaine Leroy Moussinier Grand Cru 1990, I told the sommelier. Elena's eyes widened. That bottle could cover her rent. Or my usual tab. Andre, I added. Of course, Miss Dorsey. Would you like your corner table instead? This'll do tonight. Elena blinked. The room knew me. And now, she was starting to realize why. You can't afford that wine. I'll have to cover it, Elena snapped, voice tight with embarrassment. Actually, Christopher Harlan interjected, suddenly studying me with more interest. Did you say Dorsey, not Maya Dorsey? Elena gave her practiced, pearly laugh, the kind she used to steamroll awkward silences. Yes, that's her name. Blackridge Ventures? Christopher pressed, his attention now fully locked on me. The same Maya Dorsey who just acquired Lunaris Robotics? The table went dead silent. Elena's wineglass froze midair. Her junior associate's jaw actually dropped. One of her key clients was now looking at me like I was the guest of honor. Lunaris was severely mispriced, I said calmly. Their neural integration IP alone was worth double their listed valuation. This was a $3.4 billion 0 cents acquisition, Christopher said slowly. All cash, I nodded, taking a sip of the Grand Cru. Elena had gone pale. There has to be a mix-up, she managed, her voice brittle. May works from her apartment. She barely makes ends meet. She runs one of the most profitable private firms in the Southeast, Christopher interrupted, still staring at me in disbelief. Your restructuring of Kellner Group last year? Masterful. I didn't realize that was you. I smiled. That deal had unfolded while Elena was busy mocking me over family brunches, bragging about her firm's failed attempt to court Kellner as a client. You're not between jobs? Elena asked, voice faltering. No, I said with a polite nod. I'm right where I intended to be. I turned to Christopher. Incidentally, I've had my eye on Harlan Systems for some time now. Your quantum patents are promising. We're not for sale, he replied, startled. Everything is, I said smoothly, accepting the wine as Andre returned. Oh, and Elena. Don't stress over the wine. I own the Alder Room now, acquired it last fall. Elena's hands trembled, the fiction of my failure, collapsing in front of her most valuable client. Why didn't you tell me, she whispered. You never asked, I said. You were too busy writing the ending to a story you never read. Christopher handed me his card. I'd like to talk patents, Miss Dorsey. Perhaps a private meeting, Christopher suggested. Of course, I said, taking the card, fully aware it would cost Elena her most valuable lead. I have an opening tomorrow at my office, the one in the Avalon building, I added casually. You know, the property I acquired from Elena's firm last month? The table went still again. Elena jolted, knocking over her water glass. The Avalon building? That's our headquarters. Was, I said, gently correcting her. The lease conversion announcement hits the wires at 8 a.m. It's astonishing what you can quietly acquire when your own sister tells the world you're broke and irrelevant. No one bothered to look into the holding company making those offers. The rest of dinner blurred under the weight of shifting truths. Every petty anecdote Elena had ever shared about me now worked in reverse. Each client saw the truth behind the facade. The struggling sister had become the power behind the table. Just as coffee arrived, my phone buzzed. I glanced down and chuckled, turning the screen toward Elena. Forbes just dropped their new 40 under 40 list, I said. Guess who made the cover? She stared at the photo, me, centered under the headline. Maya Dorsey, the silent architect of Southern finance. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Every dinner, every fundraiser where I mocked you, it was free? Exactly, I said. There's no better camouflage than being underestimated. I stood, adjusting my plain blazer. Christopher, I'll have my team send over the initial terms in the morning. Elena? I paused. You might want to explore temporary office space. Rents are steep right now. As I exited the Alder Room, my phone buzzed again. A message from Mom. Elena just called in tears. What did you do? I typed back. Not much, just told the truth. Because tomorrow, the world would see what I'd quietly built. The firms, the buildings, the empire. But tonight, it was enough to watch the lies unravel, all by themselves. If you've ever been underestimated, hit that subscribe button. Because in the next part, the world learns just how far Maya Dorsey's quiet empire reaches. Floor-to-ceiling windows bathed my office in soft morning light, framing the skyline of Nashville, a city I'd been quietly reshaping, deal by deal, for the past 5 years. Your sister's been in the lobby for over an hour, Jasmine, my executive assistant, said, her voice crisp through the intercom. Security says she's tried 3 different names to get past reception. I turned to the security feed. Elena looked less composed than usual, her designer blazer slightly rumpled, eyes shadowed from a sleepless night. The Avalon building announcement must have hit. Your mother's called 6 times, Jasmine continued. Your father tried to connect via LinkedIn, and your cousin Ava just updated her profile to include a close family tie to Blackridge Ventures CEO. I smiled, opening my laptop to skim the headlines. Blackridge Ventures acquires Avalon building in surprise move. Maya Dorsey, the billionaire behind the curtain. How a silent architect took over Southern finance. My phone buzzed with a new message. Christopher Harlan, impressive coverage, let's talk patent soon. Before I could reply, Jasmine's voice returned. Your brother Evan is here, with your father. That was unexpected. Evan usually avoided family conflict, keeping his head down in his role at our dad's firm. Send them up. They entered like strangers crossing a threshold. My threshold. Dad's eyes scanned the room. The skyline view, the minimalist elegance, the wall of awards. Quite the office, he said finally. Better than the sad little apartment you said I'd regret working from, I replied smoothly, recalling last Christmas's lecture about wasted talent. Maya. Evan stepped forward. It's about Elena. Of course, not here to apologize. They came to contain the fallout. She's a mess, he said. Losing Avalon broke her. That was her crown jewel. Now she'll have to earn her name, I said softly, not borrow it. You could have warned us. Dad snapped. You let us worry. You let us believe. I let you believe what you chose to, I said, voice even. When did any of you ever ask what I was building? Elena was too busy turning me into her cautionary tale, I said quietly. And you were both too convinced I'd failed just because I chose a path you didn't understand. But failure doesn't build a multi-billion-dollar portfolio. Dad sank slowly into one of the leather guest chairs, face pale. How did we not know? I walked to the window, looking out over the Avalon building, the very place Elena's firm would be vacating within weeks. Remember when I left Harlan Corp 5 years ago? I asked, when Elena told everyone I had a breakdown. They both nodded. That story had become family scripture. Poor Maya, the narrative went, cracked under pressure, ran from a corner office. I left because I saw something no one else did. Mid-market tech firms were undervalued, prime for acquisition. But I knew how this family works. If I told you, you'd have tried to direct every dollar, every move. We were just trying to help, Dad protested. No, I turned. You were trying to control. So I let you think I was struggling. I lived modestly, used my trust fund as seed capital, built in silence. Every time Elena mocked my apartment, she didn't realize I owned the entire building. And those lectures about responsibility, I was structuring acquisitions while you scolded me for freelancing. Evan finally asked, why now? Why reveal all of this? Because now, I said, lifting a folder from my desk, everything's in place. I handed it to him. Including your firm, Dad. He stood too fast. What? The holding company that's been quietly buying shares in Dorsey Advisory Group? That's me. As of this morning, I hold 51% ownership. Evan flipped through the documents. She's right. You can't, Dad began. Can't what? Be better at this than you? My phone buzzed. Jasmine's message. Elena is now trying the service entrance. If you'll excuse me, I said calmly. I have a meeting with Christopher Harlan about his patents. The board meets at 9. You should probably start drafting your retirement announcement. His face flushed. You can't force me out. I can, and I will. Security was already waiting outside. Because power doesn't beg for permission. It takes its seat, quietly, permanently. As they turned to leave, Evan paused at the door. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I always knew you were smarter than they gave you credit for. I just never imagined. No one did, I replied, a quiet smile forming. That was the point. After the door shut behind them, I buzzed Jasmine. Hold my calls, unless it's Christopher Harlan. And Jasmine, send flowers to Elena at the Avalon office. What kind? White lilies. And on the card, write, sometimes the best success stories are written in silence. I turned back to the window just in time to see Dad and Evan step into the car waiting at the curb. My phone buzzed again, a message from Mom. Family dinner tonight. We need to discuss this as a family. I typed back. Can't make it, prepping for the board meeting, but feel free to discuss my billions without me. You've had plenty of practice talking about my failures. Because this wasn't the end, it was the first tremor. Elena's clients were already jumping ship. Dad's sudden retirement would ripple through the consulting world. And as for the board of Dorsey Advisory Group, well, they were about to experience an entirely new era. At 8:55 IMM, I sat at the head of the conference table I'd grown up watching from the sidelines. The room hadn't changed. Dark mahogany, heavy chairs, designed to intimidate. But today, I was the one in command. Board members filed in with stiff greetings and downcast glances, each of them holding the morning press packet, confirmation of the Phoenix Ventures acquisition, the leadership restructure, and my father's official retirement. Dad entered last, Elena at his side. Both wore sharp suits and faces full of fury. This is absurd, Dad said before even sitting. You can't just walk in and take over. Actually, I replied smoothly, I walked in months ago. You were too busy ignoring me. I nodded to my legal team. Distribute the voting records. Elena's hands shook slightly as she scanned the documents. These can't be real. Like my breakdown? I asked. Funny how stories shift when the truth arrives. Or my alleged failure? I replied coolly. No, Elena. These documents are very real. Every share, every proxy vote, every silent partner, all perfectly legal and verified. Dad's face had drained from rage to stunned white. You've been planning this. Look, all those family dinners where you lectured me? I nodded. Perfect moments to identify weaknesses. It's amazing what people reveal when they think they're talking to someone who doesn't matter. The boardroom door opened again. Christopher Harlan stepped in, flanked by 3 high-profile clients Elena had been desperately courting for months. Her face lost the last trace of color. "Christopher," she stammered. "We had a meeting with Blackridge Ventures," he said, sitting beside me. "Which, as it turns out, means with your sister." He turned to me. "Maya, about those patents. We're ready to move forward." Elena's pen snapped audibly, leaving ink bleeding across her sleeve. "Those were my clients," she whispered. "Where?" I said. Past tense. "Just like this used to be Dad's company." I stood, adjusting my tailored navy suit, no longer hiding behind minimalism. "Here's what happens next. Dad, you'll announce your retirement, effective immediately. Elena, your title ends today. Head of Client Relations is no longer a role we require." Gasps fluttered around the room. "The rest of the board may stay, if they're willing to adapt." "You can't," Dad began again. "Shelley, I can, and I already have." I pressed a button on the remote. Graphs filled the screen. Plummeting retention, aging revenue streams, declining innovation. This firm's been running on fumes. Legacy clients, outdated strategies. In the last 6 hours alone, we've received 14 client inquiries. High-net portfolios looking to transfer under new leadership. Eyes widened, chairs shifted. Apparently, they'd rather trust the invisible sister with a $5 billion 0-cents portfolio than the one who spent a decade mocking her. Elena shot to her feet. "This is revenge. You're punishing us." "No," I said calmly. "This is business. You taught me that." I turned toward the screen. All those years telling the world I was irrelevant. Turns out, they were listening. And now they were calling me. My phone buzzed, a message from Jasmine. "Your mother's here, with your Aunt Patricia." Perfect timing. "Send them in," I said through the intercom. The door swung open. Mom entered in full pearls and posture mode, Aunt Patricia close behind, but both women halted the moment they saw the board assembled, clients seated, and me, clearly in command. "Maya," Mom started, her polished smile faltering. "Darling, this has gone far enough. We're family." "Funny," I said flatly. "We weren't family when you let Elena whisper to anyone who'd listen that I had a breakdown. We weren't family when you forgot to invite me to holidays because I was embarrassing." I clicked to the next slide. Blackridge Ventures Global Portfolio. Real estate, tech holdings, equity stakes spanning 6 continents. We're only family now because I'm worth billions. But that's exactly why this company needs new leadership. Dad tried again, clinging to the last threads of control. "The board won't stand for this." "They already have," I said, nodding to Christopher Harlan, who opened a folder. "As of this morning," Christopher announced, "Blackridge Ventures has voting agreements representing 82% of shares. This transition is effective immediately." Dad slumped in his chair, decades of authority reduced to silence. Elena turned away, tears streaking mascara down her cheeks. And Mom, she just stared at me like I was someone she'd never met. In a way, I was. "Jessamine will show you out," I said. "Your retirement package is generous, Dad. Elena, your severance is fair." Consider it a lesson. Underestimating people can be very expensive. As security approached, I turned to the remaining board members. "Now," I said calmly, "shall we talk modernization?" That evening, I sat in my glass-walled office as headlines exploded across every business outlet. Maya Dorsey, the billionaire they never saw coming. Dorsey ousts family in corporate takeover. My phone buzzed. "Evan, proud of you. Always knew you were the smartest." I smiled, remembering every dinner where they praised everyone but me. "Your mother's called 6 more times," Jasmine reported. "Elena's sent 4 emails. Your father's finally gone silent." "Hold their calls," I said. "They've had years to speak." Now it was my turn. I turned to the window. Success doesn't always shout. Sometimes it grows quietly, rooted in doubt, watered by dismissal. I opened the family group chat. Next family dinner will be held in my boardroom. Dress accordingly. We have a new hierarchy to discuss. Because sometimes the quiet ones don't just rise. They ring. If you've ever been overlooked, dismissed, or underestimated, leave me a comment below. I want to hear your story. Because quiet strength doesn't mean weakness. It means strategy. And sometimes the best revenge is quiet success. Subscribe if you believe in writing your legacy on your own terms. My advice? Let them laugh. Just keep building. One day, they'll realize they should have been paying attention all along.